All right, we're back. Okay, so that was pretty crazy. We made our abstract superclass, and now we need to get the collisions. At least that part done today. I was hoping to get, spreadsheets, but don't see how that's going to happen. But let's just see how it goes. We have to pass it on to version 3. I know, it's crazy. Let's take a look. So back to this. So we've done it. We've done our we've kind of put together our stuff for our superclass. We just started recording. Don't worry, you didn't miss anything. And now we wanted to get our collision manager working. So here's our collision manager. Our collision manager is pretty empty, but this stuff here is what we want to do. So we're going to say something like this. So now that we know there's two objects, what I want to say is this: the formula, right? And I'm going to start doing like this. I'm going to say the distance formula of the superclass, of the class itself, the vector2 distance formula, right? So how do I do that? I got to say if, right, vector2 dot, that's what I want to do, vector2 dot distance, right? Remember I told you we talked about this, is this going to work or not, right? Vector2 dot distance, and I want to say a, right, and a dot my position, but positions has one, and then b dot position. And if that is less than, right, can't be less than or equal to. If it's less than the a dot height, half the height of a plus half the height of b. Oh man, didn't we say that we're going to do that? That I'm going to have half heights, like as static variables. We did that to make it easier for us, right? So, oh man, let's go back. Hold on a second. Game object, right? So I've got height and width, and I've got, my position. That's cool, but height and height, I need to get half height, which is kind of a calculation, right? So get half height is what I need, right? It's not a setter or a getter. It's like almost like a method, right, that I want to kind of call. So get half height of or a property. It can't be. I couldn't make it a property, but property means it would calculate half the height, right? I could. Let's call it. So here's height, and I don't need half the width because I'm only doing half heights. Because I mean, I could do half widths too if I wanted to calculate other things, but let's leave it alone. Leave me alone, man. Come on. Get half height, right? Which is a number. So it's going to return a number. And I mean, I can make it a read-only value because I'm not going to set half the height. Just get half the height. So get half height, and this dot underscore is going to return. Sorry. This dot underscore height times 0.5. Oh man. Times 0.5. Okay, get half height. Now you might say this is crazy that I'm doing this, but actually later on, it's awesome. And let's do the same thing for width. Might as well, just because we're doing it. Get half width, right? And then that's going to return a number, which is going to return this dot underscore width times 0.5. That means that down here in my formula, right, where I do this, I could use it, right? I could say equals to this dot, regex this at half width, right? I could do that, right? And I could also do this dot half height. Could I not? Yeah, because I set them up, right? So this is good. And so now I've constructed a couple of new things, and I'm using them already. Before I continue, I need to check to see if everything's okay, right? Because I made some changes, and they could be breaking changes. So light server. They don't want things not working. That would be very bad. Okay, good. Things are working fine. Oh. What was that? All right. So this is the JLF, yeah. This is good. This is half width and half height, which means now see what I did? I modified my abstract class because I know I need it over here. and go back to my collision class. And now what I can say is, well, is less than A, because A is a game object and it has half width and half height. I can go A dot half the height, and then plus B dot half height, right? Because it saves me time, it makes my comparison nice and beautiful. Or if it's less than, then I have a collision. So console.log collision, right? Okay, cool. But I got a problem. My vector2, it says cannot find the name vector2 because it's not vector2. It's objects.vector2.distance. Yeah, I did that. I don't have to declare a new object because distance is a public static method. I can go objects.vector2.distance of position A and position B. Okay, cool. Well, what I want to do to check, right? Now I have to instantiate this collision manager. This collision manager must be instantiated, right? The collision manager is just an object that I'm going to use to manage my collisions, and I'm going to instantiate it in the play object. Now, in order for me to instantiate it, I got to make it so it works, right? So let's make sure it's there. So if I'm going to go back to my index.html, where do I put my collision manager? This is under managers, right? I need to know about all my objects. I don't need to know about all my scenes. My scenes need to know about my collision manager. But my collision manager should know about all my objects, just in case. So I'm going to put it right here. Script source is equal to scripts managers collision.js. I know I haven't really explained this too much, but I'm putting it in order that I can, this is the order that each one of them knows about the other ones, and kind of in a reverse order. And if you think about it, it's logical. My collision manager should know about my cloud, my player, and my island. If it doesn't know about those things, how can I do a check, right? I need to know about those things. Okay, cool. That's one. Second thing is, in my core references, it'd be the same thing. So underneath my objects, I got to put my new reference, and I'm going to make it myself. So I'm going to say, just to remind you how it works. The reference path is equal to .. and it'll be managers and jurors, and then collision. TS. Okay, now I've got my collision object. It's actually, my module works, and now I'm going to put this module inside of my my play class. So in my play, under my scenes, I'm going to go to my play scene, and up at the top where I have these other objects, I'm going to call my collision manager. So I'm going to say private, and we're going to call it underscore collision, right? Which is of type managers.collision, right? That's what it is. Oops, there we go. And I need to instantiate this manager, my collision manager, somehow, right? Well, I'm going to do it. So this declares it as kind of a class object, and down in here, after my player and after my clouds, after everything, but before we update everything, is where I'm gonna instantiate this object. So include a collision manager. I'm making a collision manager and not, just making a, kind of a check collision method, right? Well, that means I can reuse it. I can reuse it over and over again in my other scenes, and it has nothing to do. They're not connected. They're all not linked, right? So I can go some of this underscore collision is equal to, by the way, you could call it collision manager if you really wanted to, is equal to a new managers.collision. I don't have to pass anything in right now. So I've created the object, and then the next, that's all I need so far, right? Okay. I'm not adding anything to any child to the actual object. I'm just instantiating a new collision manager. All right. Here's what I want to do. Every frame, this is when I'm going to check things. The collision manager's update method, or the collision manager's check method, is going to run every frame, and I want to check between my my player and my island. All right. So in here, my player and my island, every frame, it's going to check this, and this is going to check again for every time I hit a cloud. Right. So I'm going to do something like this. So this underscore collision check, And I got to pass in two objects, two game objects, A and B, which is going to be, I'll pass them in order, who cares, this dot underscore island, and then this dot underscore player, right? Well, hold on. That's okay. I like that. All right. So I'm going to check those two things out. And all I'm doing is checking the distance between the two things. And if everything goes well, in my console, it should read collision. Let's see if it works. Save. And go back here and start. And we're only checking between the cloud and the player so far. Inspect. And we're going to go to console. Hey, there's the collisions. Let's take a look. Let's try this again. And collision. Uh-oh. Collision. What happened? Collision. Why? It's true, but collision. Which means I got to track when the object is colliding and when the object is not colliding. Each object. Each object means game object. So each object should have an is colliding property, right? So if it's already colliding, I turn it off. And when it's done colliding, I turn it off. So I turn it on and turn it off, right? So when it's colliding, right, I score a collision, but I don't score another collision until it's done colliding. Otherwise, I'm going to get some really weird effects. I'm going to get like, my score is going to continue to increase forever until it's done colliding, right? That's not good. So let's go back. I don't understand if you know what I'm talking about here, but that means that every time I hit the island, so let me go back to my drawing, right? So here's my cloud, here's my plane. So am I colliding? Yes, 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 yes. A bunch of times as I pass over the island, I keep colliding with the island. And that means I'll keep accumulating score. I'll keep making that weird sound until it's done, right? That's not good. I want to do this. I want to hit the island first, and when I collide, I'm colliding. I'm currently colliding. And then when I'm done over here, I'm not colliding anymore. So now I'm not colliding. And now if I collide with another island again, as an example, that's good. I'll score it again. But I won't score the island twice. I only score the island one time when I'm colliding with it, the first time. Now if I do this, hello, collide, 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 that can still work, right? Or I can do this, right? Because I'm waiting for the island to come down. And if I wait for it to come down and it goes boom, and it collides one time, and the island passes below me, that's okay. But I can also do this with my plane. The island's up here, and I go, woohoo, right? And I do it again. If I do it a couple more times really, really quickly, it'll still work. So that's a bit of way of cheating, right? But it's going to be so fast that chances are I'll only do it maybe one time, all right? All right, what does this mean? Go back. So in my super duper, class, if I go to my abstract superclass, my game object, I want to keep track of if it's colliding or not. So I'm going to say, first I'm going to make a private instance variable, just like we did before, is colliding, right? Which is going to be a Boolean type, right? Is colliding is Boolean. And then I want to make, definitely have a getter, right? And a setter for this. So get, and I'll say is colliding, right? Is colliding for the get, which is of type Boolean. I'm going to return this dot underscore is colliding, right? Okay, and the same thing goes with my setter. This is a lot of extra code, you might say, but yeah, but later on, we might be able to do a lot of stuff with this. Set is colliding. I want to be able to set it as well. And I'm going to pass in new state, which is of type Boolean, right? So I'm going to say this dot underscore is colliding is equal to new state, whatever the state is. Oh, new state. Okay, good. So there's my collision check. Now I got to set it by default. My default in my initializer, I'll say this dot underscore is colliding is equal to false. So I've been initializing it to false in my initialize method. So it's not colliding by default. Okay, that means that the only time I set a collision is if it's not colliding, right? So I check that first. I go back to my collision manager. So I go back to my collision manager, That's why I broke it down like this. And I say the following. Hey, check first if it's already colliding. If it's not colliding, then check to see if the distance is good. Otherwise, don't check, right? So I'll say if not is, and again, we have to check that both A and B are not colliding, right? So if one or the other. Now, what am I checking? If I assume that I'm checking A is my plane, and B is the other object, right? Whatever the other object is, either one or the other. If it's colliding, one or the other, right? Then that's bad. So if not A is colliding, right, and not B is colliding, so both objects are not in collision right now, then we'll check the distance. And you might say, is there other ways to write that, Tom? Yes, there is. Now, you do it my way. Then we'll figure it out different ways. So again, all I'm doing is check to see if object is colliding. Okay, here's the problem. How do I check to see that it's not colliding? So do I put this outside of the collision check, the distance check, or do I put it inside the collision check? And my tell is it's supposed to be inside. I'll tell you why. Because I have to check the distance to see if it's colliding, if it's not colliding anymore, right? So and I'll never get there if it's inside, right? So if it's not colliding, let me just do this, format code. There, that makes more sense. So if A and B are already not colliding with anything else, what if my plane is colliding with my cloud and my island? Does that mean I can't collide with both? That's wrong. So I got to figure out like my primary collider and my other collider, right? It's almost like, you know, the origin and destination, right? So really what I want to do is when I program this, I want to say something like A is my plane and B is my collision, my collider, the person that's colliding with me, right? So I really don't want to check A. I just want to check if B is not colliding. Just saying, because if I check A too, that means that, and my plane keeps track of collisions, then that means that I can't collide with more than one thing, which is not true, right? So if B is not colliding, then collision log collision, right? Okay, cool. And when this stops, first of all, if it happens, I'm going to say, well then B, right? So B dot is colliding is equal to true, right? So I just collided, so I'm colliding now. But when my distance is far enough away that I'm not colliding anymore, else, then I want to say B dot is colliding is equal to false, because that makes no sense, right? So I'm not colliding with the object anymore. So I'm checking to see if the distance is true. If the distance is less than half the height, right, then I might have a collision. But first check to see if it's already colliding. If it's already in collision state, my state of my object that I'm checking is already colliding, don't check. Don't do anything with it. Keep checking the distance until I'm not colliding anymore. And when I'm not, make it false so that I can come back and do this again. That's what it's doing. All right. That means the way we write stuff is going to be different. I'm just going to watch the A's and B's for a second because we're going to have to maybe change those values. But if I go back to my code for a second, if I go back to my player, my play scene, so here's my scenes, scripts, scenes, play. Here's my play scene. Now, the way I did it was this. I said island and player, but that shouldn't be the way. It should be player with everything else. So player, and then this should be my island, right? This dot island. Well, if that's true, island and player, to enforce this, right, instead of checking A and B, what I should probably do in my manager class is call A player and B collider. That's what I should probably say, or other, B other. Let's try this out. So I should do something like this. So A would be player, so I'm going to refactor rename. So refactor would be like rename symbol to player, right? Whatever my player object is, and B, I would refactor and rename symbol to other, because that way it makes more contextual sense. So what I'm saying here is this: if objects.vector2 distance player.position and other position, if it's less than the player half height and the other half height, then if the other is not colliding, make a collision, and do this stuff. Now you can also do by the way, you can also split it across this to make it more easily seen. You can do something like this, or something a way that you can see. It's a pretty long line, right? This is a pretty long line of code, and you can kind of split this off if you really want to. I'm okay with this piece. I just want to check to see that it works, and let's check it by going here. I'll refresh, and go start, and now collision. 1, look, 2, see, 3. It only does it 1 time. 4, and that's what I want, because then I can check how many points I get. Every time I collide with an island, then I get points. Every time I collide with an ocean, or sorry, with a cloud, then I lose health. Okay, let's check this out. So I did this. This works well for my island, but I want to know what is colliding. Well, that's easy. I have a name in my game object that I kind of knew I was going to need. So if I go to objects, game object, when I get there finally, there it is. Here's objects game object. Notice that I have a name property, right? Well, what I can do in my initializer is, as soon as I pass in the image string, plane, island, cloud, I can use that as a name too. I'm not tracking it right now. I'm just lost, right? But I could track it in my initialize method, because my initialize method is inside my constructor, right? But here's the thing: does my initialize method know about my image string? Maybe not, right? So I probably want to do it right here, outside of my initialize method, or pass it inside, pass my image string into my initialize method like this. So I can kind of do one of these. So pass it in. So image string. My image string is going to do it. So that means my initializer method requires an image string, which is of type string. And my image string is going to be my name of my object. I'm going to say this dot name, right, is equal to image string. I'm just being careful. I'm passing my image string. Now I know what my name is. So now that I know my name is, I could say something like this. I could say, well, I collide with a cloud, collide with a island. Let's check that out. So I'll go back to my managers, collision. So I collided with what? Collision with plus other dot name, right? Because name is a property that belongs to all game objects, and since I've just passed in the name as an image string, I know that cloud is the name that I passed into my image, so therefore it would work. Let's take a look. Refresh, start, and collision with island, collision with island, collision with island. This is good. That means I can recognize what it is. Let's do the collision with the cloud now. All right. So this check works beautifully, right? Let's check with the island or the cloud. So how do I do that? I go to my play scene, so scenes, play, and my play scene where I do my update, where I'm doing my for each. Guess what I'm going to do? Every cloud update, I also check, right? I do another collision check. So I call collision check again. So this dot collision dot check, and this time I check this dot underscore player with this dot underscore cloud. But the cloud that I'm just checking in here, this one, right? Because cloud is each cloud. For each cloud, I check for the player to see that I got a collision, and I don't care which cloud it is. Any cloud will give me a collision, right? Let's check this out. So, save, start, and now cloud, island, cloud, 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 island, cloud, cloud, island, cloud. Good. Guess what? I'm almost there for my points now, right? let's make noises, all right? So we can see that the collision is working, right? How? Well, just to give us some audio feedback, so we don't need to do this anymore. So I don't have to go, you know, in my collision manager. So I don't have to do this, console log with other name, right? Well, how do I check? So, okay, fine, others collide, whatever the other is, I want to do something like this. I want to make a sound of type sound, right? Whatever it's going to be, right? All right, more checks. I'm adding sounds. Uh-oh. Let's go to my core. Let's go to my game.ts. Let's take a look at my stuff here: island, plane, and cloud. And now let's add in some assets. If you notice in my assets, I already have audio for my engine, my thunder, and my yay, right? I only need to add in my thunder and my yay sound. So I'm going to kind of do one of these. So copy and paste. Let's add a couple of commas. And it's the same thing, except this time it's going to be thunder. It's going to be thunder. Now, it can't be assets images. It's going to be assets audio, right? And this will be thunder.og. Og is og vorbis. You can also do MP3 if you really want to. And this will be yay. This will be the assets audio yay.og. Right, so there it is. So this is the sound that gets made. Now, what I want to do is instantiate my sound by passing in what it's going to be, right? So thunder and yay. All right. Let's go back to my collision manager. Where's all this going to happen? I'm going to say this. If, right, other.name, right, is exactly equal to, right, 3 equals, exactly equal to cloud. We'll do cloud first. Then create.js.play.sound. .sound.play, and the name of the sound, right? Which is the sound, the source string, which is thunder. All right. If, on the other hand, the name of the object that I'm colliding with, I gotta do both instead of else, because I can collide with both, right? Island, then create.js.sound, .sound.play with the yay sound. Okay, so this right there differentiates which one I'm colliding. If I collide with the island, so if plane collides with island, with cloud, and then this one is if plane collides with island. That's what happens, right? So I kind of split it off so you can see the difference here, but it's only just 2 if statements, right? All right, let's check this out and see if it works. So start, and you can't hear it, but I can. Uh-oh. Let's put it. I'm gonna leave my ears for a second. You might hear me come in less nicely, but I'll do it in a second, and then you might hear me come in like a little bit on the video. I'm gonna leave my earphones, so you're gonna hear me a little bit less nicely. And let's hear the sound so you can hear what I'm talking about. So, oh man, what happened? Oh yeah. Well, it'd be nice, Tom, if you turn the sound up. So let's try that. So. Right, so there it is.
Yay.
Right?
Yay. 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 Yay.
Oh, what happened there?
Yay.
Yeah?
Yay.
How come?
Yay. Yay.
Remember I told you there's that little trick?
Yay. Yay. Yay.
Okay. I wanted to show you this piece. I'm gonna plug myself in again. So I wanted to show you this piece because the audio collision now, we have a visual collision and an audio collision, good feedback, and now it's time to take care of my points, right? So I can calculate how many points are being, you know, kind of on the go. Now, I don't have a way of tracking points yet, right? I need to have another manager to do this, and I haven't had this as an issue, right? But I think I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish for today, which is to get collisions going. When I have collisions going, I can always calculate points, right? I can't calculate points until I do. Okay, let's add one more sound in there so that I can actually add a sound for the engine of the plane. And I want to add a sound for the engine of the plane when it's instantiated. Okay, now this is something special for the plane. So I want to, the player is going to have its own sound that's going to play all the time, right? Which is not going to be part of the abstract class. So it's going to be unique to the player. So if I go back to the player object, right? And I want to go to the, on the object. So here's my player object. And in my player object, I want to have my sound, but I want to make it public. This is my own public value. I'm going to break the rules a little bit too. I'm not going to make, well, I could make it private too. Let's make the private value first. So I'll say, I know, it's only me. Private, I'm going to call this sound, right? Private sound is of type create.js.sound abstract sound instance. Okay. So I'm saying that the sound object is this. And my public properties, I'll do the same thing with my public properties. I'll have a get and getter and setter, right? So I'll say get sound, right? Which is going to be equal to, which is going to return of type of create.js.abstract sound. That's what it's going to return, right? And it's going to return this ._ sound. Why abstract sound instance? Just see in a second. Why not just say create.js sound? I want to be able to turn it off. I want to be able to turn it off when I switch scenes. I want to turn my plane sound so that the engine sound is off. Because even because create.js sound is playing, it's a separate object that's happening on its own, right? It doesn't care about the plane. Once I instantiate it, it's good. It's on its own. It's gonna play forever, right? Set the sound object. If I just want to make a setter, why not? Set sound object to new sound, which is of type create.js sound abstract sound instance. Probably won't do this, but why not give myself capability? And then I'll say this ._ sound is equal to new sound. Okay, cool. So that's what this does. What I want to do is say something like this. This sound, right? Inside, and I want to do this in my start method because this is I'm setting things up here, right? I'm going to say something like this. This sound, right, is equal to, I know what it is. It's going to be the engine sound, right? It's going to be a create.js so it's going to be create.js.sound.play engine. Now you might say, wow, that's weird. That's kind of, I don't have to use the new keyword. No, I don't. Why? Because once I do create.js.sound.play, I create an instance of the sound object automatically. So what this does, what this returns, the play sound, if you notice what it returns an instance of the create.js abstract sound. That's what it creates, an instance. And then I could do things like turn it off, loop, do different things with it, right? Which is what I want to do. All right, so that's one thing. Now I don't have the engine sound. It means I got to go back into my my game.ts file, and underneath that I got to kind of put in another one of those. All right, so I need to kind of put that in my preloader. We're preloading a lot of stuff now, right? Here's engine. What was that? Eventually, we will have one. Here's my engine, right? And if I go to my scene.ts, sorry, my player. If I go to my under audio, you can see that I have my engine.og, right? So again, all I'm doing here with my game.ts is I'm loading my engine sound. Okay, I want to play my engine sound with my player. So here's my player, and if my engine sound is instantiated, but it's not playing yet, See, it's playing here. I say play engine, right? But what I can also do with my engine sound is I can loop it. For example, I can decide whether the interrupt is any, my delay, and so on. And I can also say if loop is on or not. And I can do that by specifying the type of value. Example, I can do something like this.sound.loop, right, is equal to -1. Loops it forever. See if this works. So if it doesn't work, we'll know, right? So sorry, that's really loud. Try that again.
Yay. 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 Yay.
If you feel that the background sound is too loud, like my engine sound, which I think it is, right? If I was going to rebalance everything, I think it's the background sound is too loud, right? It makes it too loud. And what I can do is in here, I can also specify the volume. So this dot sound dot volume, right? And I can make it to 0.5, right? And if I go back and start it again, but does that sound better?
Yay.
It's kind of weird though. So it sounds modulated, right? Huh? Make it 0.7. 0.7. That's not bad.
Yay. Yay. Yay.
Make sense? All right, cool. So I got my background noise. I've got my engine sounds. I need to keep track of points. Now it's 6:30, guys. Is anyone willing to stay, or am I going to do this on my own? Get all night? I'm going to say half an hour more. For people who can't stay, like if you guys got to go, totally cool. I'm going to keep recording for an extra half an hour because I want to get point scoring. And without points, you can't really do your game, which is do Friday, right? So I got to give you the way of doing points too. Otherwise, what's all this for anyway, right? All right, let's go back. So we've got some of this going. I need to go here. And if I look at, I don't need this right now. If I look at this for issues, my collision capabilities to the game, that's done. Collisions are done, right? Now I'm just going to enhance it by adding stuff. Did I add sounds? I didn't even add sounds in here. Oh, there it is, sound effects. Woo, I did that one too. So that kind of collisions and sounds, which is issue 17 and issue 15 all at once. Let's do that. So I'll say stage all these changes, and I'll say added collisions and sounds, closes issue number, what did I say? 17 and 15. 15 and 17. 15 and issue 17. Thank you so much for being patient. Everything else will be up. See how to do everything. Push. Thank you. All right, so I'm pushing those up. And I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to my collision capabilities. Again, that's done. Definitely go in here, and you can see that it's mentioned. So I'm going to deploy this feature and close the issue. And I'm going to go back to the next issue. Thank you, Tammy, so much. I appreciate your patience as well. All right, go in here like this as well, and you can see that this one's good. I'm going to deploy this one, and then I'm going to close the issue. Yeah, I'll close it and open it 10 times. All right, and then scoring I haven't done. Oh, wait, how come this is not closed? This should be closed. And let me see. Height, look, half height and half start. Oh, man, I probably should have closed those two. This is closed. Kind of added that in, too. That's closed. Goes on. This is a bug I haven't closed yet. Config class for screen. No, I didn't do that. Avatar animated propeller. I'm not sure if that'll happen this time around. It was a nice try. Sprite sheet. No, I don't know. That might be 0.3. Scoring system, definitely. So let's change some of this stuff. I'll make another milestone, right? Because I know there's stuff I can't do. And this frequently happens. Let me plug in so you guys can hear me better again. All right, let's make a new milestone, version 0.3, right? And what I can do is I can take these issues and refer them to other milestones, like this one, this island. It's going to stay as a bug because I got some stuff to do, Lucy, right? And we're going to move this back over. So 0.3, island goes outside. iConfig class, we'll put that in 0.3 as well. Just more important things to handle, right? And those are 0.3s. Player's avatar to have animated propeller, definitely 0.3. In the best laid plans is what I always say. You know, I wanted to do it, but I just couldn't get around to it. 0.3, 0.3. Add sprite sheets. Yeah, we'll do that 0.3 too. And nice. And but this one we'll do now. This is the last feature we'll do, right? Okay. Dependent on collisions. All right. And if you notice my milestones, you can see that I'm 85% complete for today. Now that I moved everything around. Okay. Now, two things for me. I need to keep track of my score, and my score has got to be independent of my of everything else that happens. Okay. How do I do such a thing, right? And where does my scoring manager happen, right? I'll tell you right now, probably my game, in the game itself. Because my scoring manager should be independent of my play state. It doesn't matter about my game. My game doesn't matter if I'm in level 1, level 2, or level 3. I should keep track of the score between the three levels, right? So there's a couple ways to do this. I could create score and lives at the global level, right? But what I'd rather do instead of do that is instantiate an object that's in the global state, share it, expose it, because remember my game is inside of a namespace called core, right? Share the score, just pointing it out there, and then when I share my scoreboard, right? My scoreboard or my score manager, whatever you want to call it, right? My scoreboard or my HUD, my heads-up display, whatever you want to call it. So there's a couple ways to do my score manager, or I can just share two values that are global, score 3, score, high score, and lives. Which way you want to do it? Class, the good thing about a class is if I have other things I want to do with the score, right? Like if I have a method, then I maybe want to make a score manager. Or if I want to make something happen with the score. Like whenever I update the score, then I use a getter and a setter to change the heads-up display. That makes sense. Because the heads-up display could be labels, right? But the labels would only exist, if you think about this, labels would only exist if, you know, in each of the games, right? So I got to figure this out. So I need to make a label that's going to layer on top of the games, right? My score label and my lives label. And my score label and my lives label are going to be part of every game. Again, see where I'm going? So that means when I instantiate my scoreboard, there's two ways I can do this. I can instantiate my scoreboard and have lives label and games and score label, right? Or I can just add them in as separate items, right? It really depends on what I want to do. For today, so we don't get complex, let's just make two labels, score label and a lives label, which are going to keep track of our score. And the score itself are going to be two values, core.score and core.lives, that we're going to be able to pass in. We'll leave my high score for my game over screen when we get there. All right? Let's do this. Okay, so how do we score? So back into my game.ts file. In my game.ts file, so far we haven't got a lot that we've exposed, but we have exposed quite a few things. For example, my assets and my stage are definitely exposed. Here, I could go in and expose other things. By the way, hint, hint, this speaks to me of a game class, an overall game class that I pass on, right? For now, we're not going to do that. So score and lives variables, we're going to say something like this: export, let score be a number, which we're going to set to 0. Export, let lives be a number that we're going to set to 5 by default when we start the game. You know what, we'll do one more. Export, let high score be a number that we're also going to set to 0. We'll put the high score with the score. Why is this good to have it at this level? Because when I start new games, I kind of format the code. When I start new games, what I'm going to do is every time I go to one level or the other, I could always say that my high score or whatever, it's going to keep track of all those things independent of the play state that I'm in. All right, this is good, but I have to access it like this: core.lives, core.score, core.high score. All right, that's how I have to access this stuff. But they're there now. Next, let's go back to my collision manager. So if I go back to my collision, I can see that this is where I'm going to set it. All right, I'm going to set it right here. I'm going to say if other.name is equal cloud, play the sound, and I'm going to say this. Core.lives. Oh, how come I can't access core? Remember what I did, right? In my, that's bad too. Let's try this again. Core.lives, right? Minus equal to 1, right? I could say minus, right? Whatever. Let's just say minus equal to 1. And core.score plus equals to 100. So we'll say 100 points every time we pass over an island, and so on, right? So that's the score. Well, now whatever it is, I could play it in my play state. So if I go to my play state, this is the easiest way to do it, by the way. Not necessarily the best way, as you will see later on when we make more changes to the game. But for now, we iterate slowly, right? And it's always, as we iterate, we create new stuff. Okay, I need 2 labels. I need my score label and my lives label. Let's put them in. So now these are not getters and setters. This is, this score label, right? Score label, which is of type objects.label, and lives label, which is of type objects.label. There we go. And what I want to do down here is add my scoreboard. So add lives and score label, right? I'm going to say something like this: this._lives label is equal to a new objects.label object, and inside there we're going to say this, it's going to be called score, right? So, or sorry, lives, right? And the font size is going to be, I don't know, what do you think the font size should be? Like 20? Let's say 20 pixels for now. See how that looks. And then the font family is going to be Consolix. We want to say the same for now, right? And the font color is going to be black. By the way, font color could definitely be some kind of constant, right? And then the X number. So I want to make it on the top left corner of my screen. And do I want my label to be automatically position my label? Do I want it to be centered, right? Now, if you notice, I'm not giving it an option, right? All my labels are centered because that's why I made them, right? Under my objects. So I'll show you this: objects.label. My label object does not allow me. I don't have that option. It's always centered. Right? So I got to figure out, this is where the uncentering would be cool, right? It's already always centered. Get measure width, center, right? Well, what I want to do is I want to add this in. I want to change my label a little bit. So when it says my font color, I want to say is centered, right? Which is going to be of type Boolean. There it is. This is the difference, right? Oops. I'm getting tired. I meant is centered, which is of type Boolean, so it's going to be here. And if it's centered, then we'll do this. If is centered, then we'll do this. Otherwise, we won't. But this breaks everything, right? Once I've done this, I've got to go back into my play, and I've got to go back into other places. And anywhere I have labels, I got to put them in, right? For example, in my play scene, I do have one in there. I got to fix them all because now it's cascading, right? So I'll go to my scenes, go to my play scene, and I need to say that this is, my lives label is true. I am centering. Oh. True. What am I missing here? Oh, X and Y coordinates. X and Y coordinates. So my X coordinate is going to be about 10 in, or let's say 10 in, and then about 5 down. There we go. This will be false, not true, because we're just going to go from the top left corner. There we go. And then what I'll do is I'll add this label to the scene. I'll say this dot add child, this dot underscore lives label. There we go. And we'll do the same thing for score label. So this dot underscore score label is equal to a new objects dot score label dot label score. Again, we'll do 20 pixels for now, but I'm sure that's going to be too small. Console-less. And we'll just move this over so you can see it and just get rid of this for now. And we'll say it is black. It's just setting up the label, the actual label. And well, now this is the right side, so we'll say it's going to be like 350 pixels to the right and 5 pixels down with a false. So it's not going to be centered in this particular case. And we'll add it in. So we'll say this dot add child, and then this dot score label. So those are added in, lives and score. And what I want to do is I want to say initially that they're going to be added in to the core dot lives, whatever that is. Let's display that plus core dot score. There you go. So those two are displayed, and we can see where those go. But I got to fix my other problems. I just made a bunch of problems myself because in my over scene, I can see that there's a problem because it's thinking that it's going to be 320 by 240, which is going to be true. Put that in there, right? And in my play scene, no, there's no problem there. But definitely in my menu scene, there's also an issue with this being true. And anywhere else, I have my label. I modify my label for this. Yay. Let's go back to here. Oh yeah, maybe I should initialize my stuff here. Refresh. Start. That's pretty small. All right, a couple of things. One is, I'm just going to turn this down for a second so I don't hear it. One is that I definitely, I don't want to have it too small. Maybe 40 pixels might be better, right? And yellow might be a better color to match up with the blue, right? Which I've kind of done before. So let's go back here and change some of this stuff. So I'm going to go back to my play scene, And you can see that instead of 20 pixels, we'll make it 40 pixels. And we'll make this, instead of, it's yellow, so RGB, red, green, blue. How do I make yellow?
Red and green.
Huh?
Red and green.
Red and green, right? Let's try it out. So these are FF00. That's what you're saying to me. I believe you, right? And let's go back and try it again. So this is good, right? So it looks okay. I might want to move my score over a little bit, but you know what? It could be in the hundreds, so it's not a bad position to be in. Notice that it floats above the clouds because of the position I put it into the display list, right? Like for example, I went back into here, into this part, and I put them underneath my my collision. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is tray bad. I want to put this definitely last, below everything else. This should be over here. Ooh, that's a disaster averted there. Okay, brothers and sisters. So this is good. So I've got my lives and score labels in there. But now what I want to do is on update, I want to update my score and my lives. But you know what? There's nothing to trigger that this is going to happen, right? This is the problem. So I wanted to do it here. I'm checking to see if there's a collision happening here, but I want to update my score and my lives. How do I do such a thing? Thanks, Kevin. Well, let's take a look. Remember that my my score, here's my score. Look, it's being handled in my game.ts file. I know that I can keep track of it because it's exposed. I'm using the export keyword to expose it. Well, that means that on every check, I want to update my scoreboard, my lives, and my thing. So I can create another method here to do that. So I'll say another private method. Usually I do private before public, which is probably going to be up here, right? If I was going to in my scene. So here's my start. So here's my constructor, and inside my play scene, I'll say another private method, which I'm going to call update scoreboard. What it's going to be. In my update scoreboard, I'm going to use this again. I'm going to say something like this. This dot lives label dot text, right, is equal to lives plus score dot lives. Here we go. And this dot underscore score label dot text is equal to score plus core dot score. So that way, every frame, I want this to happen. This update, that's why I put update in front of it. Update score label, scoreboard, right? Which means inside my update, below everything else, after I do collisions and everything else, I'm going to do this dot underscore update scoreboard. So I'm going to update the scoreboard every frame, every time, because it can happen anytime. I can update my score at any time after I do my collisions. And they're separate from my collision manager because I may or may not want to do the score. I don't want to link it to my collision manager at all. I want to make it a separate object. I could make it, like I said before, I could make it so it's a score manager, right? And therefore, I would just call the score manager update method, which is where I'm going to go eventually. But for today, the answer is no. I got one error. Let's make sure that I follow my error. And somewhere in here, yeah, that should be a function. Right? It kind of took it somehow, but we want to fix the errors, that's for sure. All right. And let's see if this works now. So I'm going to go back to here, right? Start the thing off. I get 5 score. And if I hit an island, I get 100 points. This is my score, guys. 200, right? Right? 4 lives. Down to 2. What happens if I go to 0? I can go to like minus. It's not going to stop me. So now I can make a check. I can make a check. I got my score. I can make a check now. If I go here into my collider, so there's my collision. And what I want to do here is do the following. I want to say something like this. Failed to, oh, I don't want my collision.js changed. Don't save. In my collision.ts, right? My collision.ts, what I want to do is say this. Well, not only does it do this, but if my lives, if core.lives is less than or equal to 1, so I'll say do this, watch. Here's where it happens. If core.lives is less than or equal to 1, right? No, less than 1, then change scene. I want to change scene to the over scene, right? That's what I want to do. And my current scene, right? So here's what I want to do. I'm going to say current scene. So core current scene. I got to be able to access that. So how do I switch my current scene? Remember, I got to be able to access my CA. So core got, these are the things I can do. Change scene, right? High score. And my current scene would be scene, right? So core.scene, right, is equal to scene. So config.scenes.over, right? And then that's game over, right? And then I want to call the core.changeScene method to check which scene it is to switch. But what I need to do is also turn off my player sound, right? Now, because my play sound, right? This is where I have to go back to my play, because originally when I made my player, under my player, here's my player. I made my sound a property, right? That's good. So I can say player.sound.stop, right? So I want to do that too. So when I go back to my collision, and I want to say, before I leave the scene, before I change scene, I want to say player.sound. That's the thing, see how sound, I don't have access to that. Look, because sound is is an object that's part of my player, but not a game object, I got a problem. Because I put sound as my player, but not my game object superclass, so I can't access it because I don't know what object I'm looking at right here. So again, I got to be generic enough. Maybe I want to make collisions with other objects later on, like bullet and player, or bullet with thing, or maybe maybe I have another NPC that fires at the at my enemies or whatever. So I need to attach sound to my superclass. So what? Can you downcast? No. Come on, we have limitations here. We're talking about JavaScript downcasting. I love your thinking, but not necessarily, not really. Yes and no. That's the answer. All right, so position, name is colliding. I could add in a sound, and I can do that with the player. So I take the player object, and I go back up, and I already have it, my player sound object, right? Or my sound instance. I take these public properties here. So first I take this one, and I'll put it in my game.ts file. So there. One. And then I want to take my player getters and setters, copy them for now, and go into my abstract game object class. This solves problems. That's all this does. Is it the right thing to do? We're making all of our objects fatter this way, right? But now all of them have a sound object, right? I'm just setting it in my player. I'm not setting it in the other objects. I don't care about those. They just plain stop. All right, so I got my sound object, and it's public, and I did it on purpose because I knew this was going to happen. If I go back here, I can get rid of all this stuff now, right? Because if you notice, it says player incorrectly extends the base class game object because, yeah, I'm extending it. I don't need to do that, so get rid of this. And get rid of this. Like, it won't allow me to overwrite stuff that's already there. Okay, cool. Now, but I can still do this. I can still do, the sound, and there's the engine sound and so on. I can do all that when I instantiate my object. Okay, cool. Go back to collision now. I can say that. I can say player.sound, right, dot stop. And stop is a method, so I have to do this. So I stop my play sound, my player sound. I change my scenes to the over scene, and it should take me to the game over scene now. Let's see if this works. And this is the test, right? So start. Let's just die. Restart. Uh-oh. And let me just hear that. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's still playing the sound, so that's a problem. So let me see what happens again. So you guys can hear it, but I'll let you hear. Here's how it sounds. So I'm playing.
Yay.
Hit the point. Didn't stop the sound. Yeah, so let's try this out. Let's go back and see why it didn't. So again, I'm saying player.sound.stop, and I want to stop the sound instance that is the player sound, right? Well, it's the same thing. I mean, I could instantiate a new sound object, right? But the player sound object I instantiate, and I want to stop it. This is what it should do, right? So if I go, let's see what other things it can do. So I can mute, right? So I can make the volume 0. Right, here's the volume 0. And because I've set the volume, that might be the issue. Set loop, if I hover over set loop, it sets the number of set duration, how far it's going to do. Play state, my play, paused, on or off. That's just event listeners, right? So loop muted, right? That's a property. And then get mute, get pan, get volume, destroy. All right, so what does this do? So it says destroy, right? And that's I want to destroy the player sound, right? Or I could make it equal to null, right? But I'm still not able to do this here. I'm still not able to go down here and do that. Just saying. The other way to do it is if we can't do it here, right? I could do this check here outside of the game class, because this may not always be true, right? Although collision should always be true, but I could check it inside my update as well. Let's check it first here and see if it works. So go here, go here, go here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Still not really good. And I haven't checked. And notice there's no error either. It just doesn't do it, right? Let's see what it's doing here. So I'm setting it, and then I'm checking to see if core lives less than 1, and then I'm switching the scene. But my player sound destroy or player sound mute is not working. All right. So what if, putting it out there, I don't do it here, I do it in the game. So I check to see, special check, and this is just a workaround. I'll fix it later. I want to get this done for you guys so you have everything you need to do your assignment, right? Which is why I'm doing this in the first place. So let's go to my play scene. Sorry for the sound differential. I want you guys to hear the sound, and that's why I turned it on. So I'm here, and I can check. So update my scoreboard, and then in here I can say if, I do that whole check. Instead of doing it in the collision, this piece, I won't do it here. I'll do it in the actual play state. So go to play, and do it in here. And I don't say player here. Yeah, format code. I could say something like this. This dot underscore player dot sound dot stop. Let's see if that works. That's directly accessing the player object. All right, let's turn it on again. All right, so start. I don't see anything, right? But I still hear that. That sound is the most, I'll tell you right now, is the most annoying pain that I've ever had, right? How do I stop that instance, right? Stop the sound instance. And unfortunately, you can't really, you know, it's hard to stop once you start it. It's a sound instance. You can see that I'm stopping it, right? I'm accessing. I could do that. I mean, I could turn the sound. Let's just turn the sound volume off. So say sound dot volume is equal to 0. Let's try that, right? Because I'm not really taking the sound away. I'm just setting it to mute. I got like 2 sounds going on. You notice that? Let me show you again. Watch. Why are they restarting it? Huh? Let's see. Here's the reason. When I start, I've already set my lives to 0, and I got to restart. When I restart, I got to reset everything in my my game over class. If I go my game over scene, it's already 0, right? So let me check this out. So I go my game over scene, and where it says core scene play, I got to reset everything. So when it's something like core dot lives is equal to 5, core dot score is equal to 0, because that would happen, right? Now, remember, we're doing it here. There's many places we can think about doing that, like a scoreboard, like I said before, right? And let's see if this works. So,
Yay.
adding another.
Yay. Yay.
I keep adding more and more up. What if, just putting it out there, right, that the way we configure my player, right, when I did this player stuff, this on separate lines, is incorrect, but rather we should put on some other stuff. Example will be this. I can set the interrupt, if any, right? The delay, interrupt, so make it 1. The delay is 0. The offset is 0. The loop is -1. The volume is 1. We'll make it 0.7, like we said. And pan is 0. That's the number. That's the actual pattern. So we don't need this anymore. We can do it all in one line. That's in the constructor. Let's see if this works. Just saying. Tried. And the loop stays on. Yeah. Or what I could do is I could instantiate a new sound. This sound is equal to nothing, right? Like if I say this sound is equal to new create just sound object, right? Like for example, if I use the new keyword, it doesn't work, right? Here's something we could also look at, and I know this is going a little longer than half an hour, but I could look at the API documentation. So if I go sound.js docs, by the way, it could have changed. Something could have changed. And if I look at the sound object, right? My sound is on, file load, and then on register sound, load handler. Okay, here it is. So here's what I want. So here's I played my my sound play. This is good. What I want to do is I want to check some of the ways of turning it off. For example, my abstract sound instance, which has this example. var my instance is equal to this play, and then what I want to say is on loop, keep looping, loop 2 times, loop 3 times. Oh, in a object like this, that's good. On complete, handle complete. But what I want to look at is my properties. Duration loop, number of loops remaining. Negative values will loop infinitely. Could say loop 0. I could change the loop to 0, property of the object. But I have a feeling it's something to do with my, I'll be honest with you, it has something to do with my constructor, with my getter and setter. It has something to do with my getter and setter because what I'm doing is I'm not making it equal to another sound instance. I'm trying to affect it directly, right? Which means that what I need to do, unfortunately, I hate to do this, right, is do something like this, guys and girls, to fix the problem. That workaround number 25, right? But unfortunately, this is how it works, right? I want to go into my game object superclass for a second. This is where the game object is a burden, right? And where I have my sound instance like this, make it public. And I hate to do this. I don't want to make too many of these, but it is what it is, as I always say. Make the sound this. And what I want to do is get rid of some of this stuff. Get rid of this getter and setter for now. We can always go back, because I've recorded this stuff, right? And inside my sound, right, I'm not instantiating anything in here. But in my player object, it doesn't know what it is. It just knows there's a sound instance, right? So down in here where I'm instantiating my sound, my player.cs, here it is, this engine sound. It's okay because it has a sound instance. Okay, now let's see if that works. Nothing changed, just I changed my getter and setter. I took my getter and setter away and made it an actual private, a public instance variable, which I don't like. But I'm just saying, sometimes we got to solve problems different ways. Refresh. Okay. I'm saying we're just troubleshooting, right? So this is the way it is. So let us set the loop to 0. So just because you're saying that, right? I'm going to go into my play scene. Go to my play scene. And my player volume is 0, but that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to say this.player.loop is 0. See if you're right. It's like it's already instantiated. It's like it's instantiating it twice. Well, there's another really nice fix for this, which is, huh? It can't. I can't do is equal to create just sound null, right? I couldn't. I mean, if I want to, let's just try this out. So player.sound, if you're saying, what you're saying is correct, is equal to create.js.sound, or equal to null. I don't think that'll take anything away, friend. At all. Because it's an object. I told you. It's independent of all this stuff. I have to destroy it. Like literally set it up with a new one. So create.js.sounds. And then notice that there's a, if I put in .play, and if I don't put in a sound in there, right? Like, for example, I don't know, yay, yay. Right? If I just do one of these, so at the end it'll say yay. Right? You're dead. Oh. That's unusual. That's really unusual. That means that there's somewhere else that I'm instantiating the sound again. That's what it means. It's almost like I have two players. So here's my object.player. Hold on. Island player. This is where I instantiate my plane object. Clouds. It's an error, actually. It's not what we think it is, because they shouldn't be doing that. Player update. Player sound. Right, is equal to yay. Even though it does a yay sound, it stops, right? And then maybe I'll say that it loops, but the loop is going on forever. Okay, let's just turn the loop so it doesn't go on forever. Let's go to the player sound, and let's make the loop. I'm not going to mention a loop for a second. Just curious. This is important. And let's see what's going on. So I play the player sound once. Yeah, it did it there. That's just stopping my sound. I just stopped the sound when I finished playing, right? It's almost like I have literally no control over it. I love problems. They're awesome. That sound. And if that's true, sorry guys, I hate troubleshooting like this, but it is what it is, so to say. So if this is public, right, then I should be able to access it. Let's just do a console log of this .sound here. And see what I get when I play it. So you get it twice? See that? Okay. Look where I get this sound instance. I'm getting it twice.
Yay.
I'm getting it here. My player.ts60.
Yay.
It's almost like it's generating two sounds when I use my sound object. Isn't that weird? What is happening? Is it the way I'm preloading? Hold on a second. And of course, guys, people who are watching this, thank you for being very patient. We'll troubleshoot this. But you see where I'm going with it, right? Hopefully. Go to my preloader. Yes. Install the plugin on complete. So this is good. So I'm actually having the plugin key in, right? And then in my play scene, I will keep playing it as long as, that's another way to do it. A workaround. If my play scene is still playing, right, I'll loop it again every frame. If it completes, right, and my play scene isn't done, thank you. If this is still alive, the scene is still on. If the core.scene is equal to thing, then loop again, right? If not, stop. How do I do that? This is definitely not the way. You know, I'm just curious what I did before, because I did the exact same thing like so many times, and I'm just forgetting something. Let's see if I'm right. So I'm gonna go back. This is another thing I can do. I'm gonna go back to my GitHub for a second, and I'm gonna look at MailPilot, because I've done MailPilot a bunch of times. Oh, here. MailPilot. There we go. MailPilot. MailPilot last in the winter demo, and I'm gonna look at my scripts, and I'm gonna take a look at my objects. Guys, I so apologize for this one. Player.ts. Oh, yes. With red, engine sound. Okay, this is how I did it. So I wasn't wrong. I did it exactly the same way. Engine sound.loop. And then when I have my scripts under my scene, let's take a look at scenes and let's go to play. Player, lives label, text label, did that same thing. Update score, clouds, ocean, player, add, lives label. Getting my lives label, and I did my score label, and collision, and child. So I probably did it in my collision class, collision check, and update score. Where did I do it? So maybe I did it on my scripts, managers, my collision manager, and stop. See? Did it right here. It always worked before. No, not a damn thing. I did exactly the same thing, as if you can tell. Yes. Same library, same everything. So it's not that. It's something. I mean, I did this all by heart, right? So like when I was doing it, I was like, okay, I've done it so many times, I know how to do this, right? So I went to the over scene instead of the end scene, same idea. But this has to be. I have to turn the engine sound off, right? This player engine sound stop. And I want to see my super class, my abstract class, if it was there, or in the player class itself. I think it was in the abstract class. So scripts, objects, and then here's my abstract class, my player class. Oh, sorry, my game object. Right. Game object, I have a sound string. My sound string. Oh, okay. So let us test one more thing. Let's suppose that I'm not going to change over the scene. If my lives are less than 0, right? Less than 1, ever. I'm just going to stop the sound. So just stop the sound. And let's go to my player sound. My player, just curious, before I switch scenes. Sometimes when I switch scenes, what happened is weird things happen. Player.ts. And I'm going to go back and play this engine sound. So I'll say this.sound.loop. That's right the first time is equal to -1. So this is loop infinitely. And let's see how this works. Go lower. It's almost like it's double instantiating.
Yay.
Well, look, if you can tell, my when I'm instantiating,
Yay.
play succeeded. What's the name of my sound? Does it have a sound name? I'm making 2 sounds at once. Okay. We're going to save this a different way. You know, like I said, we're going to take away the play sound, this thing here, from the player object altogether. Right? So, no, we're not going to play the sound anymore. And we're not going to pump it up to the console. Nope. In fact, you know what? We're only going to do it one time. So, because this sound and everything else. So we know we're going to do it in the play scene. And it's just it's just background noise. It's like an audio loop that we're playing all over and over again. So why not play it here? So I'm going to say something like this. So I'll say private, say engine sound, which is of abstract, HAS, abstract sound instance. That's what it is, right? I'm going to when the player object is instantiated, which is just to be the same thing. Here's the player object. Let's make that sound happen. So this dot underscore engine sound is equal to create.js dot sound dot play engine. And then we'll this dot underscore engine sound dot loop is equal to -1. So I'm checking, I'm doing it different ways. Now what I can do is when I'm done, I'll go back. Before I'm done, before I leave, I'll say this dot underscore engine sound dot stop. Because that's direct control. That's inside the same object. I'm not saving it anywhere. I'm doing the same object and I'm doing this right here. I'm doing it on update. Yeah, baby.
Yay. 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 Yay.
Longer.
Yay. 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 Yay.
You're good.
Yay.
You're gonna get a couple thousand.
Yay. Yay.
We don't go for those. Oh. Yeah, they parted from me. That's right. There you
Yay.
go. 2,000. Okay, got it. All right. So on the game over screen, to finish up the game, right? To finish up the game, I need to put a game over label and a score label that's left, not a high score. High score is not required, right? So I need to do that on the over screen. So I'm gonna go, and then we're done. So this solved it. And the reason why we're having an issue is because this sound, engine sound, is being instantiated in an object, and somehow that object is not shutting it down. It's almost like I have my plain object, and it's not, that sound object, the sound instance is carrying on. And I got to figure that that's a bug. I don't know why that is. I got to figure that out. Because I never did it before. All right, let's go back to my over scene. So in my over scene, I have my game over label, which is centered. But instead of it being a 320 and 240, let's put it a little higher. So instead of 240, will make it so it's like, 200 and maybe 180. And then underneath this, make a score label, private final score label is equal to objects.label. And then what we're going to do in here is, before the restart button and underneath the game over label, we'll put in this dot underscore final score label is equal to new objects, guessing it's before now label, and I'll put in here the name of the label, which is score plus score, whatever the score was that I had, right? And then I'll make this something like 60 pixels, solas, and then 0, 0. Well, it won't be 0, 0. I'll make it so that it's, yeah, okay. That's all right. I'll make it 0, 0. And it'll be 320 by 240. Sure. And then down here, I'll say this dot add child, this dot underscore, oops, final score label. And let's see what I got. This will be the add score label.
yay, yay,
Well, the background is this, right? To make it even nicer, I could say private ocean background. That's what it is. Just say ocean is equal of type objects dot ocean. And then I could instantiate, which I've done before too. I can add ocean background. This dot underscore ocean is equal to new objects dot ocean. And I'll pass in the ocean thing, and I'll say this dot add child this dot underscore ocean. Oops. I'm tired. The scrolling ocean will happen if I update the ocean up down here in my update. This dot underscore ocean update. So I'll make it scroll continuously, like a scrolling ocean with nothing, no plane. And I will change the font to yellow. And maybe this is pretty big. Come over. Huh? Yeah? Let's get a square.
yay,
Better? Now we'll do the same thing for the start menu scene. Instead of menu scene, I'll say, mail pilot, right? To finish the game. Trying, man. I'm trying my best. So instead of menu scene, you'll say mail pilot. And it'll be FF. There we go. Then up here, we'll have the ocean, which will be for everything else. Private ocean is objects.ocean. We can do this now because we've done it a bunch of times. And before we add the menu label, we'll add ocean background. Add ocean background. Also this dot underscore ocean is equal to new objects dot ocean. We'll pump in the ocean background. This dot add child. This dot underscore ocean. And that's good. Mail pilot, and oh yeah, the update. Under my update, I'm going to say this dot underscore ocean dot update, so it actually does something. Hey, there it is. What do you think, Omer? So mail pilot, start.
yay,
What's that?
yay,
Sorry.
yay, yay,
Then crash.
yay,
The what?
Low or something, like, say,
When I hover over, or this? You mean? Yeah, oh, there's tons of stuff we can do with text, man. That's another story altogether. Huh?
Is that like the first time it stopped?
No, we have to do some stuff. Well, yeah, there's shadowing. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. Don't recommend for some stuff. What we may want to do is, first of all, we want to have our own custom font, which we're going to load up later on. So I'll make it look like more of a military thing. There's all kinds of other stuff we can do. So this is our game, guys, who are watching me go back and put this on me so I can finish up the comments, because this took me, what did I say? Did I say half an hour? It's never half an hour. It's an hour that we have to finish. But I had to do this for you guys so you guys can have everything you need for your assignment number 4. You have everything now. You have scoring, you have the game, you have different scenes, everything that's there. The only thing you're missing is your instructions, which is basically another scene on the menu scene, which would take you to the instructions and show you the instructions and get you back to the menu so you can start the game, or from the instruction screen, start the game. Maybe you can have it there as well. But you need an instruction screen. But I've given you everything you need to make your side scroller. Again, I'm going to change the due date to Friday. That'll give you an extra few days. But remember, I would rather recommend you do your project 1, part 1, which is your concept. I want you to do that for I would recommend you do it for Friday as well. It's not that big of a deal because all you're doing is planning. All right, so let's upload everything and put everything back to merge everything back to the major branch, the branch, right? So we did all these changes, the collisions and over. Let's take a look and see what we've got left to do. What we said was, if I go back to GitHub for a second, I'm sorry, but I didn't add enough issues. You can see that there's one issue, which is create scoring system. I could have added more. That I could have said things like, fix the placing and so on. I did all those things. But I'm going to close this off. So scoring system is number 16. Let's just close this off. So I'll say added scoring system and modified menu and over scenes. We'll say this closes issue number 16. There we go. So a bump and push. And we'll close this issue. So we'll go back up here to here, and we'll go to this issue. We can see that this referring to this issue, so we'll say this deployed now. Again, I could have been more careful with this, but for the essence of time, I kind of went a little faster. Now, if I look at the milestones, it's all done. I'm going to close this milestone off. Yay. Now I'm going to go back onto my command line here, stop this from functioning, and clear the screen. This is where I'm going to merge everything back. Okay, so first I'm going to say git status to make sure there's nothing, everything's clean. Very important when you merge things back. After I do this, git status, I'm going to check out, git checkout, and I'm going to go to the master branch. There we go. Now I'm going to say git merge, and then name the branch, 0.2. Merges everything back. Notice it does all this, right? And now I have a bunch of, if I go git status, you can see that I have, my directory is clean, right? But I have my branch is 7 commits ahead. So I'm going to say git push origin master. Pushes everything over. Everything's pushed to my master, yay. And if I go look at this thing now, my MailPilot build, I can see that I have 14 commits, right? My master branch has been updated, right? Which means it's been updated on Azure, hopefully, right? Maybe. And now we're going to go to releases, and I'm going to add a new release. So this is where we add a new one, draft a new release. We're going to call this, thank you, Omid, 0.2. And we'll still say this is an alpha release, right? And then version 0.2. We can add some details in there if we want to. I still think this is a pre-release, and click Publish Release. There we go. So this is the latest release, right? We have 2 releases, right, with the source code. And you can see that the last commit is up here as well, right? And I have the latest release. And what I want to do here locally is, now that we have a chance, now that everything's clean, if I go git status, right, with my working directory is clean, this is the time to make another version. So I'm going to say git branch 0.3, git checkout 0.3 on 0.3 branch, right? And if I go, I want to publish this branch. So if I go back up to here, and if I go home, and if I go to publish, I'll publish the branch up to master, up to the remote. And if I go back to here, I can see now that I have 0.3. This is with the branch that I'm on. And I've just published that branch. It's exactly the same. We're going to ready for next week. Now, next week, there's no class for those people who are still watching. Oh, my God. If you're still watching, you're a trooper. There's no class, but I will try and do some stuff. I'm going to try my best to record some additional material for next week, so that way we're not left too much behind. That means at some point, because we won't get together, you're going to have to do a little bit of watching in the week that follows, right? So I'm going to try and make up the time somehow to record as much as I can and get some of this, maybe the animation piece I'll record for you guys, so you have everything up and going, right? So the animation stuff is done. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate your patience. I know this has been a arduous process this semester, but stay with it. I think we have a lot more to do and lots of fun with our final project.